My guest today is Justine Wilson, the founder of Curious and Kind Education in South Florida. Justine has been an educator for 18 years. She's worked in a variety of roles, including as an outdoor science educator and a public school teacher. She also worked abroad in private schools as a teacher and administrator. And she currently works at Moreland University doing teacher training. Justine launched Curious and Kind last year in 2023 as part of the Agile Learning Community, ALC network of self directed learning communities all across the US and some globally. Justine has 53 students currently enrolled across two programs. Some of those students come 1 day a week, some come 3 days a week. And Justine will tell us all about how these programs work at Curious and Kind Education. Justine Wilson, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Carrie. It's a pleasure to chat with you today.
It's so great to have you here. And I was thrilled to meet you in person at the Innovative Educators Network live conference in January that brought together education entrepreneurs from across Florida, as well as families, learners, prospective entrepreneurs, education policy folks, and so on. So great to have you on the show to talk more about Curious and Kind and self directed education more generally. So I'd love to start, Justine, if we could, with kind of a little bit of your background. What prompted you to get into education in the first place, and what were sort of your early career moments like as an educator?
Sure. I started out in education very informally, working at kind of a camp sort of environment where teachers would bring their kids for a few days up to a week at a time, and we would do outdoor science. I have my bachelor's degrees are in biology and botany with a focus in ecology. Um, But when I started realizing that I wasn't going to be a veterinarian, and that I wanted to work with people a lot more maybe than animals, even though I love animals, um, I started looking into education and science education, and I got this job working very informally as an informal educator at outdoor science school. Then I wanted kids longer, more than just a few days. So then I got my teaching credential at Antioch University, which is very progressive style education. Um, and from there, I just kept going. Um, I was in the classroom for quite some time, and I was in a small classroom or a small school at the beginning where I had gorgeous, huge windows that looked to the over the mountains in Colorado, and I could go outside anytime I wanted with the kids, and it was just me as the fifth grade teacher, and I designed all the curriculum myself, all the inquiry-based learning we wanted to do, got to build great relationships. But then I just kept going and kept getting tapped for more leadership. And then I felt like the system coming in. Um, and then I just was able to align my head and my heart, take a little step back from that when Curious and Kind was born.
Yeah. So, what was your entry point into alternative education generally and self directed education specifically?
Well, I think it started at Antioch where the seeds were planted of like, you kids don't have to sit in desks in rows, and there can be interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary learning. And, um, when I went into the classroom, I knew that was the only way I could go into a classroom was to be able to do really hands-on, innovative, fun engaging student-driven things, where students get to decide like what they're learning within the constructs of what I learned were standards. I was not aware that states had standards at the beginning because Antioch didn't really teach us about that as educators, which when I started learning about that, I was like, oh, okay. And then I think those seeds were just always there. And then after 17 years, I just took a break well, I guess it was 15 years. I just took a break and realized it wasn't where I wanted to head anymore because I was saying things and doing things that just didn't feel right
Hmm.
in
Like what?
in my body. Like kids sitting still or walking quietly in the hallway, or kids with ASD not being honored fully for who they are because they're trying to squish into a system that's not necessarily respectful of their differences. Um, and so when I was coming back to the United States, I did apply for a few jobs as a head of school for elementary. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to be myself fully 100%, and I'm going to see if it fits. And it all the way up until the last minute, it just didn't fit. And so I was thankful to have some other work, but I was able to just take a pause and research and learn and connect. I did the Wonder-led trainings with Fairy Dust and Sally Hughes. I met David Martin, who's great self-directed learning advocate in our area, and tipped me off to the ALCs, and I just felt was like, yes, this is who I am. Like, this is what I've always wanted, like for myself and for other people. And so then I just started learning more. And I found forest schools are actually a thing in the United States. So I was able to like really start piecing together the things that lit me on fire.
Oh, I love that. So tell us about ALC, Agile Learning Communities. This is a network of self-directed learning centers, some low-cost private schools, other more organic learning communities. It was started before COVID, but has, I think, really taken off as so much in alternative education has over the past 4 years. But tell us about ALC. What kind of gravitated? Why were you gravitating toward it? What is it about its philosophy that you find compelling?
Yes. I love that they have four basic assumptions, or they call them the roots, that kind of ground everybody. And then how many days you operate, or how many hours you operate, or what happens in your ALC is totally dependent on the people that are there, right? But these four basic assumptions, is that learning happens all the time, um, the self-direction, that we trust children, and that children are fully formed humans. Sometimes people think that children aren't ready yet, or aren't, like, I don't know, complete, but they are. They're fully complete human beings on this planet that are have something to contribute. And I love that the ALC model fully embraces that. Also, the ALC model really focuses on setting an environment for learners to come together in community. So even though it's self-directed learning, we're still together in community doing learning. Um, and then, we can celebrate our successes together, um, whether that's like catching a fish in the creek, or that's like making your 100th comic, you know, that they have a platform to share their learning and their excitements with others.
So, what happened between kind of doing your research, discovering ALC, and then launch? I guess what were those steps from
Oh.
idea to go time?
It all was very fast, but I'm also very efficient. Like, I will learn exactly what I need to learn, and then I will put it into action. So I learned how to open an LLC. I learned how to get the insurance. I network, and I like lean on people to like ask questions, and then the people that I trust, right? So between the LLC and the insurance, and I just drafted out everything that I believe in, the programs that like I would love. I put out an interest survey to see if there was interest. I thought I would only have a program up to age 7, but the community clearly had a different plan for me, and I think still might.
Yeah,
So,
can you talk about that a little bit? So, when you put
yeah.
out interest like queries and then you got all these school age kids, or how did that
Yeah,
happen?
that's exactly what happened. I was planning to do a nature stay and play, which I have still going as one of my programs, and that's where Little ones up to age 7 come with their parents to play, and I had been doing that for a few years um, with Tinkergarten, and then it
Mm.
merged, and then I developed Curious and Kind from that.
Oh, good.
And then I thought, okay, well, I'll take kids up to 7 years old in a drop-off program and do forest school and play. And then um, the community, when I put my interest forms out, people were just DMing me on Facebook and messaging me on Instagram. And they're like, well, why not 8-year-olds or why not 12-year-olds? And I was like, why not? Like, I don't know. I don't know why. Like, okay. Um, and so now that interestingly, the community is saying, well, what about 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds?
Mm.
So the agile learning model is just so perfect and fits so beautifully with Forest School model that we have 5 through 12-year-olds together in our program. Um, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so you got all of these, you put out these interest queries, you got all of this interest. And then what was launch like? What did that entail?
I had a soft launch here in Sarasota when I was living in Orlando, because I was coming a few days a week to take care of my niece. So I was driving, if anyone knows Florida, they'll know and empathize that I was driving across I-4. Um, normally people like sigh and roll their eyes at that because it's a really sad journey. So I was coming across I-4 to teach nature play classes for my niece and to be a caretaker for her. So I was meeting a lot of young families. And then I had my soft launch in April and May with
Mm,
just for 5 weeks, just for 10 classes.
mm.
And that was when I was putting out the interest forms. That's when I was meeting a lot of people. That's when I was looking for my site, which is was challenging, I think, for everybody that's starting a program is to find that your perfect place, but it doesn't exist. So then you make your compromises along the way. Um, but that's where I was able to put all the pieces together in that spring, before I started enrollment in May for classes to start in September.
Ah, I love this idea of a soft launch or a pilot just to kind of work out the kinks, get up and
Mhm.
running, get an initial group of families
Right.
interested. What did you do then for a location for the soft launch while you were looking for a more permanent space?
Well, I did my soft launch at a park where the stay and play is still happening. I was able to, with a lot of tenacity, get a partnership with Sarasota County Parks.
Mm,
So Curious and Kind is welcome to program in the county parks.
mm.
And so we were there for our soft launch, and it was only 4 hours a day, 2 days a week. But I was able to have everything in place. Like I said, the website was drafted out, but at that point I was able to get the capital to actually make it more beautiful. And yeah, just get some of the and really start interviewing and looking for places for the Agile Learning Center to be, with an inside space as well, because the county parks are outdoor spaces.
Yeah, I love that blend of the indoor and outdoor. So you said you had the capital to kind of build out the website. What was that startup funding process like for you? How did you fund your entrepreneurial adventure in the early days?
Yeah, I guess just at the very, very beginning, it was just very low cost,
Mm,
because I had the partnership with the park. And so
yeah.
I um, was fortunate for that. So I just had, you know, branded t-shirts, and I had all the stay and play material kind of stuff just from mud kitchen things around the house. And so I ordered some notebooks, but I think my bookkeeper and I just went over it. It was like about $2,000 of stuff. And insurance, of course, I had insurance right away and paid the LLC and the taxes. So I think it was about $2,000 for me to launch at the beginning. So
Okay.
then through the tuition that those kids paid, I was able to
Mm,
be like, okay, I'm thinking this is going to work. And then with the interest form, I was like, yeah, I know this is going to work.
Yeah.
So then I was able to like invest more money, to get the website done, to buy more materials that I knew the kids would need and go from there. But I am housed, the Forest School Agile Learning is at Unity of Sarasota, which is a place where people gather in spirituality, even
Mm,
though we are a secular program and they welcome us there as such. We've been able to use their tables and chairs and their shelving and things like that. So I've still been able to keep startup costs pretty low. Very fortunate for that.
mm. I'd love to just hear a little bit more, Justine, about how you reached your potential families for the
Mm.
interest. Did you go to Facebook groups? Did you post at libraries? Kind of what is that process like of finding families who might like this program?
Um, it was really, I have one person in particular to thank for word of mouth, and I had
Mm,
mentioned him earlier, David Martin. He's very embedded in the homeschool community and the agile learning communities, self-directed learning. He really believes in that. And when his company actually built out my website and from the draft that I had up originally, which I'm glad is gone now. But he really word of mouth from him
mm,
got me a few more to come like to an open house. I was hosting some open houses so people could meet me and see the site and we could talk. I could meet the kids could meet me. And then those few initial people did the rest, I feel like. The word of mouth has been amazing. I also have a robust social media through Facebook and Instagram. So if people do hear about me, they can go see it.
mm,
And I feel like that it helps build trust with the community as well.
mm,
Even though I don't have kids' faces on there, you can still know their kids there, you
mm.
know.
Oh, I
So
love
word of
that.
mouth and social media, and then a few Facebook pages, like David Martin runs a few Facebook pages lets me post in and things like that.
Yeah, so finding those partners, those connectors that
Hmm.
even if you don't know how to get directly to interested families, others might, and being able to build those relationships can be really crucial.
Yes, and they are so excited to have it actually happening that they
Mhm.
want this and they know the community wants this and so they know who wants it. So then they go and tell their friends like it's happening, it's happening. I'm signing up, like you should sign up. So I'm always so thankful for that.
So in the fall of 2023, did you start with 53 kids? How has your enrollment grown or shifted over the last few months?
Oh, I wish I had a graph to track it. It's just, yeah, we've held at about 50, now 53 for the last few months. I did start though the Forest School Agile Learning with I think 10 kids on Tuesday, Thursday, and 4 kids on Wednesday,
Mm.
even though I had me and another staff person. And the families just kept saying, like, it's gonna grow, it's gonna grow. And now I'm capped at 16 all day, all 3 days. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and a wait list of 7 kids waiting just for something. And there's a few kids moving, so there's hope for the wait listers. But yeah, I'm just really amazed by it. It didn't take long though, from September to I think it was November. I was like, okay, I can see I'm going to be full. And then I blinked and I was full.
Now, some of your students are eligible for scholarships or Florida's new
Mhm.
expanded education savings account programs. Does that, I guess, how does that influence enrollment, access? What are your thoughts on that?
It does increase access for families that know how to use the system. And I think that is a interesting and very important caveat because
Mm,
not everybody knows how to use the system
mhm.
and not everybody has the capital not everybody has the money to be able to pay for it and then just wait to be reimbursed, which is what some families are in right now. Meanwhile, other families are enjoying the benefits of the choice that it's allowing them. So families that enroll in Curious in Kind, I'm able to give them a special invoice that then they submit for reimbursement. And that's possible because I hold a Florida credential, um, which I don't intend to use in the public schools, but I intend to keep it for these purposes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
so tell us a little bit more about the ins and outs of the two programs. There's the stay and play for the little guys, which is like you kind of mentioned, more like a tinker garden for, early childhood, lots of outside time, um,
Mhm.
playing in nature, exploring. And then you have the more of the ALC program in the physical space for the older kids. So tell us a little bit again about how those two programs work and how they intersect.
Yeah, both of them are forest immersive experiences for kids, where they're trusted to follow their interests and explore and play. Um, in both programs, children's curiosity is nurtured and they problem solve and they're creative in all sorts of ways I never could have imagined. Um, the stay and play is just 2 hours, and some families come once or twice a week. Um, Whereas the forest school agile learning is up to 3 days a week for 5 hours. And it's a forest school blend with the agile learning community. So kids definitely need to like to be outside to come to the ALC. We start our day by gathering in circle, playing a game. The kids set their day. The adults will make an offering, or the kids make offerings to each other. And then we position it out and plan it out, but they know that they're going to be outside. And if they want to do something that's indoors, we'll generally in the morning bring it outdoors. So if they want to make comic books, which is what's happening all last week, they just did it on the picnic table. They'd get all their little supplies together in the basket and head out to the picnic table, where they could work on their comic books. So generally, everybody gets to have their learning desires met. One of the kids was like making a fire, and because we had a fire making session. We have them regularly. And one little guy was like, I wish we could have marshmallows. And I was like, huh, we do. And he's like, my dreams always come true here at this place. So
Amazing.
that's definitely like the feeling that we want them to have. It's a place for them to learn. We
Amazing.
create that environment.
And how does tuition work for both programs?
Sure. It's set loosely on a day cost, and then I bill it monthly for however much you're choosing to participate. And then I ask for a year's commitment,
Mm.
or the school year's commitment. And I hold 1 month's deposit. But if anybody wants to finish their time with us, they'll just give me a month's notice and not pay their tuition the last month. So that's kind of the ins and outs of how it works.
And what are you hearing from families, Justine, about why they are attracted to Curious and Kind? Are they families who have always planned on adopting alternative education or homeschooling, or are they more new to this world? What do you see from the families in your program?
So some families of the younger ones are exploring homeschooling and thinking about it because they might have 3 and 4-year-olds. And some of them in the stay and play just know that they'll go to VPK and kindergarten and whatnot, but they're enjoying the younger years program. But the families that come to the Forest School Agile Learning community, all of them are homeschoolers, and they are a huge variety of homeschoolers. Some of them are unschoolers, and I know all of these terms need to be defined specifically to what it might mean, but just the whole gamut from unschoolers to kids that go home and do curriculum or do curriculum on days that they aren't with me. This is kind of like the meeting place where everyone is welcome, no matter what kind of schooler you are, as long as you are open to directing your own learning and following your own interest, which most people are.
Ah, it's just so great. I just love seeing more of these self-directed learning communities sprout across the country, and just great to see the success and interest in your program in Florida. What do you find to be the most one of the most rewarding parts of being an education entrepreneur? Having been an educator and working at the university level as a teacher trainer, what do you find really fulfilling about entrepreneurship?
Oh. Mm. The definitely the most fulfilling part of the work I'm doing now is the relationships. And it always has been, like, as an educator, like that I just fall in love with kids so easily and so quickly that and just I love helping them and become who they're gonna be and discover who they are now. Um and that whole process of just learning alongside people is I love so much seeing people for who they are and learning about their dreams. The amazing part of being an entrepreneur is that I got to design it, like how I wanted it to be, how I saw. So I knew some of the things that are wrong with traditional education or that didn't feel like they were fits for me or for all kids. And I was able to design it, like, myself, and it kind of still shocks me sometimes that, like, I don't need to ask anybody, like, I can just do it.
And people love it, right? That
Yeah, and
must be
people
so
are responding.
gratifying. Yeah.
Yeah, and, it's in the I'm very, very fortunate to be at Unity of Sarasota because every time I ask them if we can do something, they say yes. Like, one
Mm,
family said, "Can we have a camp out here and sleep overnight, here on this property?" And I was like, yeah, let's find a way to say, like, I'll always find a way to say yes. So I went to Unity of Sarasota and they were like, yes, that sounds so fun. And then when I asked if we could have fires on property, they were like, yes.
wow.
It's like I feel like they know I'm running a professional program and they trust me and I don't take, I don't take it for granted, like, I'm always asking, always building a relationship with them as well, and they just seem to be loving everything. All the dirty feet that come trampling through their building out of the creek into the
Mm.
bathroom, they're just really loving it and welcoming us. So
Oh,
that has been
so
huge
lucky.
as well. So if it's like, if I can dream it to happen, it can happen, or if a kid dreams of it to happen, it can happen, and the same with families, they've recently approached me about having a teen program. Like, can it happen? Like, yeah, let's find a way to say yes. So,
Yeah. So then what is next, do you think, for Curious and Kind? You think
yeah.
you'll explore this teen program? I guess what are your expectations over the next year or two?
Well, we're gonna have a camp for 3 weeks this summer. And we'll launch the teen program for probably 8 teens and just eight people. I mean,
Yeah.
like, not 18, 8 people.
Mhm.
Um, a few days a week. And then we'll also probably launch a play school program for 3 through 5 year olds, but their parents will stay on site, but, like, have a co-working environment where they could work inside or grocery shop or check their email or read a book or drink a cup of coffee while we have their kids outside for about 4 hours. And then also another really exciting partnership is emerging with um, a community organization that's asked for me to help them do nature-based agile learning community work with their students,
Mm.
their children. So that's just starting to emerge, but I think that people are just wanting this because they want choices, in the experiences that our young people are having. And so I'm building relationships all over the city and really enjoying that.
Love it. So as we begin to wrap up, Justine, what is your sense of the future of education in Florida, across the US. You were someone who worked in conventional public schools and tried to inject a lot of kind of self-directed educational principles there. You work with teachers in training in your job at Moreland University. I guess, what is your sense of the future of education, and how will micro schools and learning centers like yours influence that?
I'm so hopeful because there's networks everywhere. Like if I want to learn from other forest schools, there's a network. And agile learning communities, there's a network. And I can hop on the Slack and ask a question and it's answered. And there's organizations like Vela and Stand Together that all like are supporting us. And I'm not doing this alone, even though sometimes I feel like I'm the only one right here, but I'm not the only one. And there people like me are popping up programs all the time and diversifying the educational landscape, which is so exciting for kids. It might not be changing as fast as we hope as far as the policy and all of the licensing and all of those things, but I really believe it will come. And if we just keep doing the right thing for kids and people, then it will follow.
I love that, and I share your optimism. I think that the future is bright for education, thanks to entrepreneurs like you who are
Mm.
building these incredible models that families want and that learners benefit from. So, Justine, if my listeners and viewers want to learn more about Curious and Kind education, how can they connect with you?
Sure. Curious and Kind Education has full website. It's easy to remember. It's curiousandkind.org. Our Instagram handle and Facebook is Curious and Kind Nature Play. You'll find us there. I love phone calls, emails. Connect with us, follow us. When you follow us, you'll get an message from me thanking you for doing so and looking forward to connecting. So, yeah, thanks for asking.
Oh, great. Well, best wishes to you as you continue to grow and reach more learners. Justine Wilson, thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
Thanks, Carrie.